Good afternoon, members. It is time to start the meeting with us formed a quorum. Just want to remind members that in relation to the business before us, if you have direct or indirect pecuniary interest, then please, in accordance with Rules 83A of the Rules of Procedures, disclose the nature of such interest before you speak. Please also note the provision under Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedure in relation to the voting on matters that you have a direct pecuniary interest. First of all, paper FCR 2013-14 number 2. This is to seek your approval in relation to the 4 recommendations made by the PwC on the 13th of March 2013. Some PwC members have requested that paper PwC 2012-1359 be put to the vote separately at the FC meeting. Therefore, together with paper PwC 2012-1350, which was suggested by some PwC members at the meeting held on the 5th of February 2013 to be voted separately, today, we have got 2 works programs that have to be put to the vote separately. If members do not have other questions, I will take out PwC 2012-1350 and 59, and then I'll put FCR 2013-14 number 2 to the vote. Those who are in favor of FCR 2013-14-2 in relation to the recommendations therein, please raise your hands, please. Those who are against, please raise your hands, please. I think the majority of the members who have voted are in support of the recommendation. The recommendation has been endorsed. The first item to be voted on separately. Now we're going to deal with PwC 2012-1350. This paper is in relation to 731CL. This is to upgrade it to Category A at an estimated cost of $781.4 million in MOD prices, so as to provide infrastructure works for housing sites adjacent to Long Ping Road at Tai Wo Ping, Shek Kip Mei. To answer members' questions, we have the following public officers in attendance. Mr. Chen Chongqing from the CEDD, and Mr. Heng, Norman Heng, Project Manager, Kowloon CEDD, Mrs. Ho. I oppose the funding request. At that meeting, I was given to understand that luxury flats will be built. There would only be 400 flats. In other words, for each unit, it is going to get $1.8 million worth infrastructure works from the government. So you can imagine for how much each luxury flat will be sold in the future. It's okay to set aside land. It's okay to build infrastructure works because we need the infrastructure works to lead to the site. But then this site should be used for building public rental housing. So I want to know whether the land use has been changed or not. So is it for public housing, or would it be for 400 as few as 400 luxury flats only? Deputy Secretary, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank Ms. Ho for her question. As we have explained to the PwC, as far as the site is concerned, as far as planning is concerned, it is more suitable for low-density residential development because we are talking about a high-level podium. And then if the building height is too great, then it will have a visual impact, and then the ridge line will also be blocked, and then it is not compatible with the surrounding buildings. Therefore, we believe that it is more amenable to low-density development of housing. Currently, for subsidized housing, usually we have a higher density of development. Therefore, we believe that this site may not be suitable for subsidized housing. As to the cost of the project, generally speaking, we provide suitable infrastructure works for residential land. If the land is to be taken up by the private sector, when we sell the land, the premium will take into account the cost of the infrastructure works. It will be affordable. We have been seeking land suitable for subsidized housing throughout the territory. Just now, we have already identified a site measuring 2.5 hectares in Shamshui-Po for subsidized housing. Now, building height restriction, if it is set at a low level, it doesn't mean that it must be put to the use of luxury flats. You can still have subsidized housing. Now, I want to know what is the average flat size of the luxury flats to be built here. PS or DS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Ho. Currently, we haven't got any decision as to whether there would be a restriction on the number of flats or the size of the flats to be built. I think when the site is available for disposal, then we will take a look of the housing supply. As far as the planning is concerned, our planning intention is that our estimate is that probably the flat size will be 150 meters square. Yes, I'm against the idea. $700 million, and yet you are subsidizing the luxury flats. I'm going to oppose it. Does any other member wish to speak or ask questions? Ms. Claudia Mo. Mr. Chairman, we did have a discussion of this issue. At that time, we very much hoped that the administration would reconsider the case. Now, we're spending such a large sum of money. We are building luxury flats. You are benefiting the property developers, and those who can afford the flats may not necessarily be local people. So it will not be Hong Kong property for Hong Kong people. But then for this particular project, you need to build a road. You have to take care of the transport and traffic implications. We say that there is a housing problem in Hong Kong. We want more public housing. We want more HOS flats. But then you are very headstrong and you want to go ahead with this project. C.Y. Leung himself has said that we can talk about the building height restrictions. Now you're saying that there's no flexibility. On other sides, we have asked you to lower the height, and yet for this one, you're going to be very inflexible. You won't allow for any leeway at all. DS, thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you, Ms. Mo. Well, the development or the planning parameters have already been sort of decided during the planning process, and that includes the building height. We've consulted the local people. We've also noted that the residents nearby would find a high-density development and a tall building unacceptable. They will object to it. Ms. Mo has talked about Hong Kong property for Hong Kong people or Hong Kong land for Hong Kong people. Well, when we offer the sites, we will certainly take into account the market conditions to see whether it is appropriate to impose a condition of Hong Kong property for Hong Kong people. So that would be considered when the site is offered to the market. Allow me to say a word here. In other words, you are not going to change your mind irrespective of the disagreement or objection. So you just come here to notify us. You're not going to reconsider it at all. Is that right? Yes. Just now, we have already said that when we try to increase the housing supply, we will take a multi-pronged approach. For this one, we need the infrastructure works. At the same time, we are also trying to rezone many sites, and we have also got large-scale projects like the one in NT Northeast. And we'll be having a lot of land for subsidized housing both rental as well as HOS. In other words, the administration is doing a lot in parallel. We will spare no effort. As to the supply of residential land, other than subsidized housing, we have to ensure that we have got land to reach our housing production targets. At the same time, we need to provide land for residents because there is indeed a demand in the private market. Ms. Mo, any follow-up? No. Next, Dr. Fernando Zhang. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also object to the funding request because the infrastructure works are purely for the billionaires, and we're talking about $780+ million. My question is, if we are to spend that sum of money on building PRH flats, how many can we get? DS, do you have the information? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I haven't got the information. Can you not ask the HA to give you the information afterwards and give a paper to Fernando Zhang? I will do that. Mr. Zhang, yes, please supplement the information. $780 million. If we were to spend it on public housing, I will happily say yes to the project. Now, we are asked to fund the infrastructure works for luxury flats. In the past, a lot of similar things have been done. We don't want to serve the interests of the rich. If they have the money, let them do it themselves. I don't think it should be funded by the public money. Just a statement, not a question, right? Next, Mr. Ng Sing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may try to address the issue from another perspective. This is an application of funds to build the infrastructure works. We have got luxury flats, we have got ordinary flats as well as public housing. I think there is a demand for different kinds of flats, and I don't think it is being realistic to stop building luxury flats. Now, how are we going to strike a balance? If we respect professionals in the field of planning and in the field of surveying, if we agree that there is a visual impact, there is an environmental impact, and there is an impact on the ridge line. Now, if we want to sell a site, and if there is a restriction concerning the floor area, then I think we need to have no frills. Now, if the site is to be sold, and then if there is sufficient money for us to build PRH flats on 3 other sites, then I think it's better. I think we need to sell the site for the purpose of attaining public resources. As to who should be housed there, of course, there are different views. It is only natural that some of us live in luxury flats, others live in HOS flats, while others live in PRH flats. My point is clear. I hope members will be pragmatic. Yes, you want PRH flats, but we also need to take into account the overall interest of development in Hong Kong. So if the planners told us that this site can only be used for this sort of flats, then so be it. And then we can get the premium so as to fund more PRH flats. So I support the paper. Mr. Abraham Shack. Sometimes some members may not be too clear about the matter. I think the sites have to be well served before you can sell the land, and then you get the money to be redistributed for different purposes. If you don't get any premium from the site, then you can't have any money for housing, you can't have any money for poverty alleviation. So if you don't say yes to each and every funding request so that we can turn the unformed sites into formed sites, then nothing can be done. We are not serving the interests of the rich. We are serving the needs of the economic development of Hong Kong. Thank you.
Does any other member wish to speak? Mr. Tony Chair. Thank you, Chairman. We should put land to the fullest use. I think that is something we can all agree to. As to the planned use of sites, I think that must have gone through in-depth consideration within government because we have all the experts in the administration. To me, what is the biggest cost effectiveness vis-a-vis the use of land? I think there are many factors concerned. First of all, value. $700 million is going to create 2 pieces of land, and if you can get back $4 billion, and if half of that can be used for the building of PRH or for other kinds of welfare, and that would be very good. But if you put the $700 into the building of PRH, you might not be making use of it in a most effective manner. Land is at a premium in Hong Kong. We must think of all the factors concerned, and we must make the best use of our land. So I think that one of the factors to consider is market force. And on that basis, we can decide what is to be built there. But if you put the land to a certain use, and by so doing you lower the value of the land, it's not going to benefit anyone. Of course, land is expensive in Hong Kong and is an important resource for Hong Kong. And we did mention that perhaps the plot ratio can be appropriately increased so that the land will worth more when it is put out for sale. And so the administration has more money for welfare, for public housing, etc. Thank you. Diaz? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. As we said, planning-wise, there are objective constraints, including ventilation, the view, and also the height restriction, and also noise restrictions along Long Cheong Road. We will take another careful look as to whether there is still room for maneuver given all the constraints for heightening the plot ratio or development density. But there might not be too much we can do. This will still be a low-density development. We might never be able to have high-density development here, but wherever possible, we'll try to do our best. Any follow-up? Ms. Anne Chiang. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, Ms. Sit Ho, Dr. Fernando Zhang, you said they might not be familiar with the site. Well, we don't blame them because that is exactly beside Beacon Hill. Traditionally, that is a site for luxury flats. Ms. Claudia Mo, are you saying that in a luxury area there should be public housing blocks built? I hope this will be answered so that residents in Beacon Hill will hear exactly what you are proposing. Actually, that site is not suited for the building of PRH because it is not served by public transport. And as I told you, Pectin Estate and Seoul Oak Estate are being redeveloped, and a lot of public flats can be built there, and they are well served by public transport. Here, with regard to these 2 luxury development flats, they can easily fetch tens of billions of dollars. And this project will help to expand the roads so that traffic will be eased. And $700 million will be spent. That is just $700 million. And in the end, you can fetch billions of dollars for these 2 sites. I don't know how come these arguments have come forward, but we support the development of these sites. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, just now well, of course, from the era of Donald Tsang and now C.Y. Leung, the CEs have been saying that we don't have enough land. And in the end, we just have 4,000 more PRH units in a matter of 5 years, and that is an increase from 75,000 to 79,000. That is not something we should compliment when CY Leung fans or supporters supported him in the election. What can you say now when his manifesto is not implemented? How can you blame people for saying this? We are helping him to implement his manifesto, and the Hong Kong Property for Hong Kong People initiative will also affect government revenue. Why don't you take him to task on those? Yes, the value of the land will be decided by the environment the site is in and also by the market forces at work. But if someone would say, please build more PRH housing, what's the problem? That happens in Hong Kong all the time. But property developers can call everything luxury flats. And there are so many luxury sites around Hong Kong now. It is a matter of packaging. You call any kind of private flat a luxury flat now. And if you provide more facilities to make the site more convenient, why not? This is not the first time. The Valley Road site, it was resumed and it was said that it would not be put up for sale. And there is another question. You talk about value. What about the value of use? You are talking about the value at the exchange point. And if you put together the exchange value and the use value together, then that is the market value. If you say that we can help improve people's livelihood, that is also a kind of value. But you only look at exchanging the land for money. Please get more education. Are you saying we should always depend on land premium for survival? It is you who said that we should not just always rely on land premium. You said we should have a bigger pie. Are you schizophrenic? Now, CY Leung, if there is anything in his manifesto that can be implemented, he should do it now. If he is of the view that there is no land, then we can have Hong Kong property for Hong Kong people and then public housing land for Hong Kong people. This is a political debate. Too bad if you have chosen Beacon Heights. Maybe you have found the wrong property to buy. Are you saying that nobody else should live beside you if you are now in Beacon Heights? Do you think that I would make you be seen in a bad light if I live next to you? I should ask for a transfer to go to live at Beacon Hill. This is a political debate. Sites are there for sale. You can always find new sites. But you say now we should not build public housing there. Then it's a political debate. And CY Leung just talks the talk and not walk the walk. How can you learn supporters continue to support him? So, Chairman, we should take a comprehensive look at this. And what Ms. Ann Chang said is wrong. In Shek Kip Mei, this is in Shek Kip Mei, it is a kind of luxury site. If you don't provide PRH, you should have a replacement or compensatory scheme. In other words, you take away this site, what do you give people in return? In simple terms, if you say because of market value, you take away this kind of site, then what kind of other sites are you going to give to the poor people? How can you just distribute cash? It is CY Leung who said there is no land. Paul Chan walked around and he only got a site for 1,000 flats. And there is no alternative. How can we support you? Next member, Chan Kin Po. Thank you, Chairman. The administration should have a comprehensive plan to provide public and private housing. There, of course, demand for public housing, but then there is also demand for medium-priced private housing. I will not tell the administration what flats, what housing is to be provided on any site. It depends on the environment and other things. It is going to be a kind of professional judgment. So I would not pretend to be able to teach the administration what kind of housing should go up in what site. But of course, we are worried that the infrastructure here is quite costly. But I believe if so much money is put into this site, I'm sure that will be recovered as land premium. And so the money that will go back to the Treasury will help to provide subsidized housing. So I will definitely support the proposal. Mr. Lo Wai Kwok. In Hong Kong, we have the capitalist system under the one country, two systems. Hong Kong has been successful because we are a diversified and pluralistic society. We hope all strata in society can develop and there is mobility in society. If in terms of town planning, we should really be taking care of the needs of every sector. C.Y. Leung did not say that we should find every site and then we should put up only PRH housing on it. I am a member of the building committee of the HA. Even if we want a site to be used for PRH, we have to do a lot of assessment beforehand, and whether a site should be used for public or private housing or for large flats or small flats or luxury flats. There are technical issues involved. Just now, a few members said that there should be transportation provided and there could be cost effectiveness in the interim. I will not repeat those. I took part in the discussion of the PWSC, so I would just conclude that I support the project. Thank you, Chairman. Dr. K.K. Kwok. This is what is called the wealth gap and people not properly provided for. In fact, we do not mind spending $781.4 million on infrastructure, but the question is, this will only serve a few hundred luxury flats. We asked the administration whether there would be any way to turn these luxury flats into non-luxury flats. For example, you limit or you put some regulations on the size of the flats to be built, and also whether the plot ratio can be increased or whether there could be mixed development. In other words, you can provide PRH, HOS and luxury flats at the same time, because there's a high level of subsidy. And even now, the administration refuses to let us know the information. They said if the developers would go for 2,000 square feet flats, then there would be just 100 to 200 flats and so on. So in other words, there will just be a few hundred flats in the end. And this will be a no-go. And we said, is there any way you can increase the number of flats? What they said was interesting. They said that the traffic flow there would not allow that to be done. Now, I don't know whether you know that one luxury flat will possess 2-3 cars, but if you put up a PRH or HOS, these people will use public transportation and there will be a lot less pressure on the traffic flow because these people cannot afford their own cars. So I'll ask you again, in this so-called planning, can you do a little more? The developers are saying there is not enough luxury land, and also some LegCo members are saying you should build luxury flats. Okay, I allow you to use half the site for luxury flats, but is it possible also for you to build HOS and PRH so different people can go there, and so there will be less pressure on the traffic system? DS. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Kwok, for the question. In my previous answers, I said that we adopt a multi-pronged approach in looking for housing land. These two sites are just part of the housing land supply. At the same time, we're doing a lot to rezone land for housing use, and we also have a mechanism to assign land suited for the development of public housing to HA for the development of PRH and HOS.
So we'll have more land for subsidized housing. Mr. Chairman, it hasn't been answered. He's just repeating himself. My question is it possible to restrict their flat size so that you can allow more people to live there? I think you can have part of it being turned into an HOS site, and then you're not blocking the way that the property developer would make a huge profit out of the sale of the luxury flats. Would that lift the pressure? Well, they have already said that probably the flat size will be 100 meters square. Now you want to impose a restriction on the flat size. I've already asked him to answer your question again. In fact, he answered this question before. DS, in terms of our planning, in fact, we have not yet introduced any restrictions on the flat size. But then when we did the planning, we adopted 100 meters square as the flat size for planning purposes. As to whether we are going to impose a restriction on the number of flats or the size of the flat when we offer it for sale, it is when we are ready to launch it, then we'll look at the market conditions and then we'll impose restrictions if necessary. But we haven't got such restrictions yet. KK Kwok is outrageous. It is not that we mind you turning this into a luxury site. But what about those who cannot afford their own homes? So if you impose a flat size restriction, like making it 40 or 50 meters square, then more people can live there. And then $700 million, what is the subsidy per unit? DS, can you tell us the number of households to be housed there? Probably it will be 480 households. As I have said, in the future, when we offer the site to the market, as to whether there will be restrictions on flat size or the number of flats, it depends on the prevailing market conditions. Mr. Wong Kwok Keen. Mr. Chairman, I've been following the argument, but there's something I don't quite understand. DS. Many people have been talking about subsidies. When we talk about subsidies, it means that the money will be spent and then it cannot be recovered. I'm against it. So if you subsidize the luxury flats, if you subsidize the rich, of course I have to object to it because you can't get any reimbursement. Can you not answer this question clearly? Is it part of the land cost, or are you going to recover it, or can you recover a sum many times this sum of money? Will it really be a subsidy for the rich? So if it is a kind of subsidy benefiting the rich, then surely the FTU would be against it. So please give a clear answer. DS. Mr. Chairman, we are applying for $780 million. It is a Public Works program expenditure. It is a sort of infrastructure works. We believe that in the future, when it is sold for private housing, then the premium will be much higher than the money that we're going to spend on the infrastructure. Generally speaking, when we carry out infrastructure works, the cost will be reflected in the premium for the site. So our view is that the land premium will be much higher than the cost we are going to incur for the infrastructure. So it could be said that it is something that we can recover. Well, it is sort of a land development cost. Then it's a separate issue. It can be recovered, and we may gain something on top of that. Another question is, can this be used for public housing? Why can't it be turned into public housing? Please give an answer again clearly. DS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we carry out planning for each and every site, we'll look at the characteristics of the site, and then we'll decide on the density of development. In the outset, I've already said that for this particular area, for the two sites involved, as a result of the topography, the ridgeline behind them, ventilation, visual impacts, noise impact, etc. So here it is amenable to low-density development. For low-density development sites, generally speaking, they are not amenable to public housing development. Next, Mr. Yip Kwok Kim. I share the view of Mr. Wong Kwok Kin. I find it quite unbearable. We are talking about infrastructure works. Infrastructure is something basic and something that we need. After we spend the money to build the infrastructure, then the sites will be offered for sale. So you give them the money, they build the infrastructure works, and then they sell the sites, and then we'll get the premium in return. So my understanding is that there isn't any question of subsidies. It is non-existent. But then members are calling it a subsidy. I find it unbearable. So let me ask this question again. Probably it is more suitable for luxury flats, and public housing is not suitable. I want to know whether other uses can be put too. Can you not elaborate on this point? DS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Yip, for your question. If I understand the question correctly, I think you're trying to find out whether at the same time we've got other land for public housing. The answer is in the affirmative. These two sites are for low-density development. No, I don't think that's the question of Mr. Yip. Mr. Yip asked your question again. My question is, other than having it developed for luxury flats, and then we know that it is not suitable for PRH because it is on the hillside, you don't expect the grassroots to spend a lot of money on transport. So what else can it be used for? So it's about the two sites. As far as planning is concerned, we have decided that it should be for low-density housing development. Other than this type of housing development, for the time being, we haven't got other planning intention. Is it possible to have something else other than low-density residential development? Do you have information for us? DS. Well, for this location, as a result of the topography, we need the money for the infrastructure works. This is because the topography makes it difficult for other types of development. So our colleagues have already looked into the feasibility. After forming the site, I think we have only got these two sites, and they are meant for housing. We do not see any room for more land for other purposes. But of course, we will see if there is suitable land nearby. All right, I don't have other questions. Mr. Wu Chuai. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For this project in Long Ping Road, just now Mr. Yip asked a question. That is, after the sites have been formed, they will be for low-density housing development. I want to know if the administration has ever assessed the following. I look at it as something like an investment. You invest in the infrastructure works, and then you sell the two sites, and you hope to get some income, some revenue, and they will go to the public coffers, the treasury. Well, if we look at the current unit prices, can you advise us of the latest market value? Before we dispose of the land in the market, we don't generally assess the value of the land. When we looked at the land use of the sites, we did look at our experience and we tried to estimate. And in fact, we are sure that the premium to be gained will be much higher than the cost spent on infrastructure, but we don't have a unit cost per se. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, for the 2 sites to be formed, what is the floor area to be generated? DS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For these 2 sites, together they can provide 42,000 meters square in terms of the gross floor area. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Well, I think when we last had a discussion at the PwC meeting, the general feeling, or at least my personal impression, was that the government has been trying to seek land, and it is hoped that there should be more land available for the market to have residential development. So we suggested, and at least this is my position, that is these 2 sites should be offered to the market directly, and then the developer will carry out the infrastructure works. I think that's much better, and it will mean that we can offer the sites more quickly, and then the property developers will start the work earlier. Otherwise, it will be 2015 that we complete the infrastructure works, and it would only be after that that we offer the sites. What's the view of the DS? DS. For this suggestion, well, in fact, in our supplementary information given to the development panel, this point has been addressed. Well, we did carry out an assessment for the road works as well as the site formation work, whether the government should take it up as a public works program or whether it should be carried out by a developer in terms of entrustment, in terms of the timing, in terms of the impact on the profit money. We do not see any advantage. This is particularly so because the road work as well as the infrastructure works have already been covered by a lot of advanced work. So if we are to start afresh, that is to entrust it with a developer, it will mean more time to be needed. And in fact, it will mean that we can only provide the housing much later. In terms of the cost, even if we entrust it to a contractor, this will also be reflected in the land premium. So it won't make any difference concerning the revenue. No other questions. Mr. Yu Si-wing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think in the future, the government will be offering a lot of sites for our discussion. Probably members will continue to ask similar questions. I want to know whether the administration has the mechanism to assess whether a site should be developed for public housing, HOS, or luxury flats. If yes, please tell us. If not, I want to know whether it is something subjective, something which is intuitive. So can the administration answer this question? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Yu. When we finalize the development parameters for each site, the planning department as well as the works departments will take a good look of the constraints of the site in terms of development. There are also a lot of technical studies like ventilation, traffic, noise, and environmental impacts. After we have carried out these studies, then we will decide on the most appropriate development parameters. We go through the same process for each and every site. If we need to go through the statutory town planning process, the outcome of such studies will also be reported to the Town Planning Board so that the Town Planning Board can decide whether the development parameters are suitable. Mr. Chairman, well, when they present the case to the committee, will such information be given as well? If not, then members may try to look at it from different perspectives. And then the building of road networks will be regarded as a form of subsidy. So I just wonder whether this can be done in future so as to improve upon it. DS. Thank you, Mr. Yu, for your suggestion. I think we will seriously consider this suggestion when we have our request again. 4 other members have already pressed the button to ask questions for the second time. Anyone else wanting to ask questions in the first round? Sid Ho, Leung Kwok Hong, Claudia Mo, Fernando Zhang. 3 minutes each. I think it's a simple issue. I think you are more or less having the same point. Sid Ho, I want to make it clear. The SARG is not a property developer. Land, the value of land, doesn't lie with the premium from sale. Rather, it is for improvement of quality of life. We need land for education and health care. The SLG is not short of money. We are not in shortage of money. There is a lot of money in our fiscal reserves. We don't need that before we can hand out the cash. We lack land. Recently, we've been asked to look at reclamation and use of rock havens before we can have 30 hectares of land. Now, we have land, and yet you are talking about 100-meter square flats.
The newer ones would measure 7.5 square meters. You say if there is income, then we can have more money for education, so there will be upward mobility. But now we have a high premium policy, so the middle class are going down in terms of social mobility. You talk about the market, but then the market has failed. So we have a wealth gap. I hope you will really not be so heartless. I like to ask about the Stanley Peninsula. Isn't it a low-density area? There is PRH, and also in Sai Kung there is Ho Tong Court, and it is a low-density development. Why can't we have public housing or HOS? As you know, Bel Air residence is just next to Wah Kwai and Wah Fu Estate, and also on the same happens on Homanton Hill. Our city planning has always been for a mixture of balanced housing for private and public purposes. In many district council boundaries or areas, we have a mixture of luxury housing and also public housing. We don't want you to build luxury flats which can be bought only by 1 or 2% of the population. We want you to build smaller flats so many more people can buy their own homes. It is not that the SALG doesn't have money. You should use the money and also use the land to take care of the housing needs of more people. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Chairman, I would say that in this discussion we have seen some attitudes amongst members, and I know where they come from. Some of our members have benefited from speculation on property. If the land premium is high, then it is to their benefit. And also if there is a high value commodities in the market, then it would benefit them. Mr. Gary Chan speculated on a shop space, and it gave him $4 million in return, and $90 million were profited by Mr. Chen Kam Lam, also for just one shop space. When you say we are ignorant, it is because you have not really listened to us. If land is developed for luxury flats building, and at the same time, if you think about the land being used for small flats, and you can compensate the same area in another site, then I'll do it. I'll let you do it. And also, as you know, the revenue from this site will go into the general account. It is not that the money would also be dedicated to the provision of housing. You know, we have revenue going into the general revenue account. And I'm not talking we should never build luxury flats. We're just talking about the ratio between luxury and smaller flats. And it is also because C.Y. Leung says there is no land. If there is land, we won't be talking to him about this. Let us use the same formula. Officials here just follow the policy. They, of course, defend the administration. They are part of the policy and they are civil servants. But what I'm saying is, if C.Y. Leung is sincere and transparent in what he tells the public, say if he says, I need a site, so I will be able to build PRH flats and also private flats for the middle and lower class, then I know what mathematics to do with you. Now, if you have got some money for subsidized housing and if you can give me the formula and also all the figures, then I won't argue with you. The thing is, you have lumped everything together. You're not giving us separate figures. We are a defender of the grassroots welfare. If you say I'm ignorant, then I'm ignorant because you don't give me the mathematics. You lump everything together. You must tabulate all these figures if you want to put forward a rational argument. It's just like the MTR. Very often the government revenue from MTR property development does not necessarily have to be spent on property development. You don't even understand that. Ms. Claudia Mo, we talk about new land, newly formed land for housing. And you are now announcing that this site in Shek Kip Mei is for luxury flat. And if you say there are already luxury flats, and so you should not come along to build PRH. And in Stanley, there are a lot of luxury flats, but in Stanley we also have HOS and PRH, and they enjoy a harbor view. I have not heard that Stanley residents who live in luxury flats complain publicly that they don't want to live next to less well-off people. How can this council say something like that? Chairman, if we continue to argue about subsidies, well, for want of a better word, you are actually subsidizing these flats. And if you say you can recover it when you sell the land, you are jacking up the property prices and also the land premium. This is a vicious cycle, isn't it? The administration cannot say this is only going to be for low-density housing and so it is for luxury flats. In Stanley, the HOS there has a low density, but it's still HOS. The administration should not be involved in doing business. We are not just talking about cost effectiveness. Ms. Sit Ho said the right thing. Are you saying we are a developer here, so we have a board of directors meeting, and should we be helping the administration to reap in the biggest profit so everybody would be happy because we are a board of directors? Well, that kind of perspective, that kind of attitude is totally wrong. The administration. Why is it that previous administrations could consider providing public housing even on premium land? Land is a public asset. It is not that a developer has bought a piece of land, so we like to put it to maximum use so everybody would be made happy. Yes, many people got rich on the basis of property speculation. You can Google, do a Google search, and you know how many members are in that category. But you should never say something like that, but I won't say more. Thank you. Dr. Fernando Zhang. Dr. Fernando Zhang is not here. Does any other member wish to speak? Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Please press the button if you would like to speak. Ms. Elizabeth Quat. I like to say that after listening to some members, I think the logic is stood on its head. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong said, if you like to speculate on property, so you're asking the administration to put out more expensive sites so people can speculate. But this is really very messy logic. Now, if members would really like to concentrate on property development then or speculation, then we should ask the administration not to put out such luxury land, because if there is little supply, then people can reap in more profits, and also the supply of private and public housing. Are members saying that we should have a planned economy, that when every site is sold, we should stipulate what is to be built there? Then we would have a planned economy instead of a free market economy. Shouldn't we allow the market to decide what is to be built on which piece of land? The administration explained just now that we need to consider a basket of factors before we decide what housing is to be built on which piece of land. It is not for you just to decide to have luxury or small size flats as you like. You have to look at the transport, etc. I have been listening to members with a lot of attention, but I think the logic is all messed up. Dr. Fernando Cheung, second round, 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. If I look at the map, Long Yan Road can connect with the two sites in question. I'd like to ask, if you do not provide the 700 million odd infrastructure, meaning the flyover or the bridge, if you only rely on existing traffic and transport, does it mean that it is impossible? If I look at the map, I think the two sites are well connected. DS, thank you. This is a technical issue. Can I ask the CEDD colleagues to give the reply? Yes, let me explain the situation around Long Yan Road. It is a very narrow and below standard road. It leads to a few government facilities, including Phoenix House, the water supplies department car park, and also E&M plant, and also the surface reservoir on Beacon Height. It has a very great gradient, and we should not put more cars on it. That is why the Town Planning Board agreed that we should build a proper and up-to-standard road. Thank you. Chairman, my point is, if there are existing roads, if you can go for improvement or expansion of the road, then you do not need to spend $700 million on the project. And it will make things so much easier, because the 780 million would mean that we can provide 2,000 public housing flats if we spend 380,000 on one. Yet this is only an infrastructural project, and in fact the money can be used for 2,000 PRH flats already. And actually, after this project is completed, only 300 to 400 luxury flats can be built. I think this is out of proportion. I hope the administration would seriously reconsider your proposal, and that is to make use of existing road facilities instead of having to spend 700 million on infrastructure. Any supplement? Thank you, Chairman. You have 25 seconds. We have considered whether we can improve Long Yan Road, but I have talked about the gradient, and it will be technically difficult. Now, the proposal has the advantage of having vehicles not having to make rounds or make a detour to Long Chang Road, and residents can go either east or west by making use of bridge number 4, so there will be fewer cars on Long Chang Road. Dr. K.K. Kwok, second round. I don't know whether Ms. Claudia Mo has put her finger on the most thorny issue in some people's minds. She said some members have profited from speculation, and so she is attacked. In NT Northwest, we also have luxury flats now. They fetch $20,000, $30,000 a square foot. Have we ever lacked land for luxury development? But the average citizen is in deep waters. They are not eligible for even PRH. They have no proper housing for them. You say you support the revival of HOS, you support the building of more PRH, but here we are subsidizing luxury development with $780 million. Just now a member has already said that that would give us 2,000 PRH flats. We are not asking you to turn the entire site into PRH development, but we are saying you should put aside a part of the site. Now, if you say there should be luxury flats or low-density development on the front so they have a harbor view and an unobstructed sea view, but behind that you can still have PRH. That's all right, isn't it? You can't say that this should only be used for luxury flat development or else the land premium will not be high enough. Nobody is saying that you should not have luxury development. I'm reiterating, go for it. But on the same piece of land, why can't we leave a part for PRH and HOS? I will ask the TD again about the TIA. Isn't it right that people who live in PRH and HOS will generate less traffic than luxury flat residents who use the cars? There are no TD representatives. What about the DS? I don't know whether the DS can answer you.
Let him answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Kwok. Generally speaking, for these two sites, for example, when we assess the traffic impact, of course, we have to look at the type of the housing and therefore the kind of traffic demand to be generated. At the same time, we have to bear in mind the density. Generally speaking, when it comes to subsidized housing, in particular public rental housing, usually the density is higher, there will be a larger number of households. So we can't really generalize as to whether public housing development will have a stronger impact on traffic. I'm talking about the traffic generated per household. Can he answer the question? I haven't got the information, and this is not within his remit. Does any other member? I've raised my hand. Don't indicate by raising your hand. Press the button. I did press the button. I did press the button, but then the light has gone off. Leung Kwok Hong for the third time. Elizabeth Quat hasn't got a high level of intelligence, and so she can't understand. Don't comment on the level of IQ. If it is not commodity housing, then there's no chance of speculation. Of course, you will go for commercial housing. It is difficult to make huge profits if you sell the housing at the lower end. Now, if we turn it into a site for public housing, then there's no speculation. Of course, you will favor private housing. For private housing, it's best if you have luxury flats because you only need to buy one and then you can gain a lot of profits from speculation. The logic is simple, easy. How come that you don't understand? Now, you have said that for one's own sake, one should advocate no housing. If you dare to say that, then it will cause a riot because the rent seeking is outrageous. Of course, you don't understand. Leung Kwok Hong, please address me. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Whether it should be for public housing or private housing. Gary Chen and Chen Kim Lam, I looked up their information. So it's best to go for the higher end of the market because that's better in terms of speculation than the lower end. Now, if you have got the capital, it's better to buy something more expensive. That's better in terms of speculation. It's easy. How come you don't understand? Now, the DAB doesn't want the prices of housing to go down. But then you dare not say this, and that's why you try to talk about other things. Now you say that there is a site available, it's better for private housing. For those who are on the waiting list for public housing, they want it for public housing. It must be so. Even if you have it half for public housing, half for private housing, I think that's much better. So do you now understand the argument? It's impossible. Even if you're very greedy, even you are extremely greedy, you dare not say that build luxury flats only, build private blocks only, don't build the public housing units. I don't see any problem building PRH there. Say half of the site for PRH. In fact, we have a lot of private housing at the mid-levels, like Shui Wo Court, near Kowloon Hill. So if you have infrastructure to connect the site, then we can sort of cut down on the cost in the future for the luxury flats. Your time is up. Annie Zhang, the second time, 3 minutes. Mr. Chairman, gradually, I am trying to research into Leung Kwok Hong. Well, he is enjoying the fruits of capitalist economy. On the other hand, he's trying to go after even distribution in socialism. And then he's adoring the communist heroes. He's always talking about politics. When we have time, we'll talk about it. I want to clearly tell everybody that for the two sites in question, basically, we're talking about 450,000 meters square in terms of floor area. I think on average, the value is $10,000. Then at least we can sell it for $6.5 billion. Now, this is going to cost us $700 million. In other words, there will be $3.8 billion left. And that means we have got money to build many, many more public housing units. Park Tin Estate, Shek Kip Mei Estate, they are already building. It's a matter of demolition. Please do not have a dialogue among yourselves. Dr. Jiang, please address me. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, please don't make any noise. Dr. Annie Jiang, I will appeal to members to support this item. Does any other member wish to speak? If not, then I'll put the matter to the vote. That is PWSC 2012-1350. For those who are in favor, please raise your hands. PWSC 2012-1350 and the recommendation therein. Ms. Sit Ho, I would like to claim a division. Yes, division. The bell will be rung for 5 minutes. Voting begins. Before I declare the results, members, please check your vote. Voting comes to an end. The results are to be displayed. Those who are in favor, 40. Those who are against, 10. I declare that the proposal has been endorsed. The next item, PwC, sorry. The next item is FCR 2013-14-5, Head 708.
我去咗第，我去錯咗咩？哦，OK，對唔住。
Sorry about that. I've skipped one item. We need to vote on another item separately. PwC 2012-13-15-9. This one is about the creation of a new block allocation subhead 7017CX under head 707 to support the implementation of projects by district councils under the signature project scheme, subject to a financial ceiling of $30 million for each Category D item, and the approval of $29 million for 2013-14 for this subhead. And we have the following public officers in attendance.
Mrs. Pamela Tan, Director of Home Affairs. Mr. Eric Hui, Deputy Director of Home Affairs. Mr. Ip Kin Yun. Thank you, Chairman. I have a few questions. The paper says that there is not a checklist yet. I'd like to know when the checklist will be available. If we can have it early, then perhaps we should wait for the checklist to be ready before you submit the paper, because we need a basis to approve the funding request. Why is it that we need $30 million? I think it is important for us to have a list first. Secondly, the $30 million, when it is used, will it be used by the government or for the district councils to engage consultants and contractors? Number 3, if I could look at the discussion during the PWSC, one of the concerns of members was maintenance and repair. That has not been resolved. Do you have some supplements, please? Director, thank you. The list. The 18 district councils are discussing what items to do. 3 district councils have already submitted their proposal, but the list is not what is important for the funding, because in future each item or project should have to come to the Finance Committee for allocation. But this time around, we'd like to provide some kind of advance support, so we can do preliminary design, we can draw the plans, so a paper can be submitted to LegCo for applying for funding support for individual items. We, of course, would allow district councils to sit on the project decision for a longer time, and if they need to discuss with the community, which will take time, so as to ensure that the item or project proposed would meet the greatest need of the community, will allow that. Secondly, whether the money will be used by DCs or the administration. Basically, the HAD will be the controlling officer. So I, myself, will have to take responsibility for the funding, but we will be a very close partner to DCs. Now, certainly, civil servants will approve the funding for the projects, but the district councils will have a leading role. As for future maintenance and repair, When the district councils decide on a project to be undertaken, they have also to decide on the organization which will be responsible for maintenance and repair. We have established guidelines and we have got a lot of experience in infrastructural projects. We will support all the support the district councils need for their reference. Any follow-up? Chairman, if we do not have the list of projects and you're asking for funding support of $30 million, what is the basis for this figure? And then later on, there will be money disbursed to the district councils for consultancy, etc. I think you should have a basis for this figure. Director. Certainly, we have based this figure on something. If each district will be given $100 million, it is our estimate that most district councils actually will probably go for engineering projects. And our estimate is for engineering projects, a certain percentage of the budget for such projects will be used for advanced works. And that is why, based on that estimate, we would need $200 million. But money to be paid within this year would be $29 million. That is why this paper seeks the opening of an account so we can inject $29 million into that account to pay for the sums of money required for this year. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you, Chairman. Actually, there are two parts to this project. One is engineering, building, and two, what district councils can think up as continuous programs. My question is, how much of the money being applied for will be spent on project designed by project engineers, and how much would be used for helping district councils write their proposal paper? And by that I mean if it is a community medical project or elderly services, those are more service-oriented. And the other side, of course, is engineering projects. I'd like to know whether there is this kind of categorization. Secondly, actually district councils now have consultant companies helping with the district councils with project consultancy. Since district councils themselves have their own consultant team, and when district councils plan for engineering projects, can there be arrangements so that district councils can make use of their own consultancy teams? Director. First question. Whether the money here is for engineering projects or non-engineering projects. The money here is totally for construction works related projects. The non-construction works projects will be looked after by another account. The second question. When DCs undergo district minor works projects, yes, indeed, they can turn to the same consultant as long as the consultant is capable. As you know, each consultant company may be able to undertake different kinds of projects. And we actually do not rule out that possibility. We actually encourage DCs to do that because the contracts have been signed with the consultants, so we do not have to tender for consultancy work. Wu Chi-wai. Now, since existing contract consultants of DCs can be used, have you calculated how much money would be saved if those consultants can help with the advanced work? And we are talking about just 3 more projects. That's not a big number. Because each DC has a contract consultant exactly looking after such construction works. So if it's what you are saying, I would ask you to be cautious in taking another look to see whether DC consultants can be asked to do such advanced works instead of asking for another big allocation resulting in possible duplication. Another question. You have a non-construction works funding request. Where will that be and when will you come to FC? Thank you, Chairman. About consultants, we do encourage DCs to make use of their existing consultancy contracts because they understand the DCs well. But we still have to pay them for undertaking work for these signature projects. So the $29 million will still be needed. Another question. The non-construction or non-works related components is that you will have to come again for another funding support. That is already included in the budget. Mr. Wu Chi-wai? Non-works related funding is already in the budget. You mean under your expenditure head, is that right, for HAD? Well, yes, I think of course, Director. Yes, personal emoluments would have been included. In other words, you are going to hire more hands and you are going to do it within the civil service. There will be a small manpower resources expenditure. There will be extra civil servants. Can you let us know how many more people you need, roughly? We do have the estimate. At the HAD, we will create 5 civil service posts. We also have to support the 18 districts. Those are non-civil service contract posts. And the relevant works departments also need to create NCSC posts. But overall speaking, it will just be a relatively small number. Mr. Michael Tian, Chairman, I have to declare that I am a Tsuen Wan District Council member. Recently at the Tsuen Wan DC, and if I understand correctly, the purpose of this funding request, I would say that there is no time to waste. We have a few projects in mind, but they remain as concepts because there are no experts. We can't even have a detailed drawing, not to mention quotations or partners. We don't know where to start. So we still remain in a talking stage. As I understand it, if we endorse this request, then DCs can hire contract consultants and they can sit down with proponents and they can turn our concepts into real projects, so we can look for quotations and after that we can look for partners. Is that what you mean roughly? In other words, the money is for helping DCs translate concept plans into concrete proposals to see whether it exceeds $30 million or is it within $100 million. Director, first, we will hire a project manager for each district. The project manager will be responsible for very early advanced work. Then a consultant will be hired to do the technical work. So that is a yes, isn't it? Well, you can put it as such. You mean I can put it as such? Because actually, on the ground, you still need to have consultants to undertake engineering work, but you must give them the consultancy brief. And to do it, you have to go through the project manager. But this sum of money would also include the expenses for translating conceptualized plans into concrete plans. Yes, we need also to get quotations. If this is the case, I would support the funding request because now everything is held up and no one knows what the next step is. Mr. Ip Kwok Him. Thank you, Chairman. The DAB supports this paper. As Mr. Michael Tian said correctly, that's the purpose of this sum of money. DC members might decide on a flashpoint project, but we don't know about the feasibility of our proposal. We must have someone help us evaluate whether a concept can become a plan. Director, I stand to be corrected, but I believe each project will have to go to the PWSC for endorsement. And it also has to come to the FC for support. If we only propose concepts, I don't think anyone here will be happy to approve the funding requests. It's just like other items submitted to PWSC, the signature projects have also to be considered individually. Without the funding proposed in this paper, the projects can never go to PWSC or the FC. Director, can you confirm my understanding and my description? Is it accurate? Director, yes, this member is very correct. We need the funding to do advanced work.
So that the concept can be translated into a very concrete design. Well, given this, as I have said, the DAB will support it. No other questions. Dr. Priscilla Leung. I also speak in favor of the proposal. I need to declare that I'm a member of the Kowloon City District Council. I think the Kowloon City District Council at quite an early stage was able to decide on how to spend the $100 million. We are going to revitalize the cattle depot. As to how the plan can be turned into something concrete, how it can be turned into a reality, we need experts and consultants to advise us. Therefore, together with Kowloon City District Council members, we have done some work and would like to ask the administration to do the following. Yes, we're able to decide on something, but we're worried about the sustainability. Now, on this occasion, we're going to spend $100 million. But what about the following 3 years? We really want to do a good job. So sustainability would be an issue. Second, we need some assistance. You can't just give us $100 million. We need what the public want, but then professional assistance would be necessary. Don't repeat the problem of establishing owners corporations, because you just help them to establish an OC, but they don't know how to nurture it. So I support the funding request. Emily Lau, a question for the director. Paragraph 5 of the supplementary paper talks about the management and maintenance fees that would be incurred in the future. But I want to know where the DCs can get the money to do it. Maybe in some cases, certain government departments may be willing to take it up. So somehow, somewhere, you need to get the money. Otherwise, the projects would become torn and worn and will become an eyesore. Director. There are two kinds. Either a government department will build it for the district council and manage and maintain it in the future, or a district council can partner with an NGO and then be responsible for the construction and even operation in the future. Of course, as to whether the partner is a suitable organization, then we expect the DCs to choose those that are capable in the sense of financially capable and operationally capable. and then the projects can be sustainable in the operation. Emily Lau, so you don't expect the DC to come up with money for the maintenance and repair. So either a government department will take it up or it has got a partner, and for reasons unknown, the partner would be willing to take up the responsibility. Director, yes, you may say so. This is because the district councils don't have a separate vote to carry out the long-term maintenance or operation, and therefore under the SPS we encourage private and public sector cooperation. No follow-up from Emily Lau. Wu Chi-wai for the second time, 3 minutes only. Yes, I'll be quick. I hope the director will clarify this point. You haven't got anything under non-works related projects, right? Yes, you have already earmarked some money within your block vote, but you haven't recruited any officers. What I don't want to see happen is that you haven't got a single item under the non-works related projects, and you are already recruiting staff. We don't know for how much longer district councils need to finish the discussion. So for non-works related projects, probably since you haven't got any concrete proposals, so can you confirm you haven't recruited anybody to do the work? Second point is that for district councils to carry out such works-related projects, we do face problems in terms of consultancy. Now it seems that at the headquarters, you are going to set up a team so that the team members will go out to different districts to turn the concept into a reality. Do I understand it correctly? On the other hand, you have said that you encourage the contract consultants already employed by the district councils to help the district councils to develop the concept. So would it be the case like when the DC is ready with a concept, you give the DC the money so that through contractual arrangements, their works consultants can also prepare the paper and have it presented to us, and this way we can make some savings about time and money? Director, 3 district councils have already submitted information for the first stage. One of the suggestions is a non-works related project. So it is wrong to say that we are already recruiting staff without any works related projects. Now we need staff so that we can deal with both works related as well as non-works related projects. Now it is not true that we have a huge team of officers waiting for more non-works related projects, even though we've only got a single one. They have to take care of works related projects as well. Yes, we have got consultants to carry out the works related projects. As I have already said, our directives would be needed before the consultants can start work. So our team and the consultants team have to join hands before we can provide the support. For the second question, I haven't got time to answer that. Yes, please go ahead. For the second question, at the headquarters, we have project managers sent out to the district councils. They will partner with the consultants to take up the job. So that's what's going to happen. Does any other member wish to ask questions? If I may ask a very simple follow-up. Sorry, somebody else has already pressed the button to ask questions for a second time. Mr. Chairman, it seems that my questions haven't really been answered satisfactorily. First of all, an itemized list. It seems that only 3 district councils have come up with concrete ideas. My question is, in the absence of concrete projects, we are pushed to do it. Now, even if you want to do it now, we also have a stage 2 funding request. Probably by then you need to come up with the information that we demand. First of all, an itemized list for all the projects. Mr. Yip, I think you were away for a moment. This is the advanced stage. They can never give you the list that you're asking for. When they have the projects ready, then they have to come to us, and the project has to be presented to us. We'll scrutinize each and every of them carefully. It's a matter of egg and chicken. If they haven't got the money, they can't start. But you're entitled to vote against it. But if you continue to ask for a list, I don't think they can come up with a list. Mr. Chairman, I didn't leave my seat. I've been listening to the discussion. I know that at present there isn't a list. Now, what I'm saying is that, yes, we are talking about $20+ million. It's for the first stage. Another sum is also required at a later stage. When the second stage comes, we need the list. She has already said that when the district council is ready with a project, the district council has to present the information to us and ask for our approval. I think the total sum is about $200 million. We don't know how much is involved because they are asking us to set aside the money for the advanced work only, not the substantial part. Can I continue to speak? I'm just watching your time limit. If you continue like that, even if you ask the question 10 times, they won't be able to give you an answer. Director, what about money for maintenance? When you answered Emily Lau's question, we were not satisfied. You haven't given us a clear answer. So we need further clarity. Director, maintenance. If a district council has a project so that a government department undertakes it, then we need to set up a project under the PWP. And then the paper would also tell you how much money is needed for maintenance. When the construction is completed, then the Treasury will release the funding to the relevant department for the purpose of maintenance. You have another follow-up? Could I clarify, Mr. Chairman? What we are dealing with is 30% of the first stage, so there will be 70% remaining. I don't know whether it's 30%, 70%, or 3%, 97%. I don't know. I can't answer your question. Whether it is 30, 70, I don't know. I haven't got any paper to tell. The paper before us asks for this sum of money so that they can make a start for the district councils. I don't know how much will ensue, Mr. Chairman. Well, in fact, it seems that this is a debate between the two of us. It doesn't matter. You can direct the question to the director. 30% means $30 million. Does it mean that there's a remaining part, 70%, 70 million? I'm not quite sure. We're talking about $29 million, but probably at the end of the day, we need $200 million for all the 18 districts for the first stage. So $30 million just for 10+ percent, not 30%. Peter C, 2012 to 1359. Please take a look of the enclosure. It is quite clear that for the sum $29.25 million, it is on the assumption that we need to pay 30% of the fees for preparatory and pre-construction works to be incurred in 2013-14. This is what I was talking about when I referred to 30%. Director, well, for each project, there is a need for preparatory work, but the expenditure may not be incurred this year. Not all of them. Maybe some need the money next year or the year after next. So we assume that we pay 30%. It doesn't mean that this is equal to 30%. Your time is up. Please press a button again. I don't know how many more questions you want to ask. Third round, 2 minutes. Wu Chi-wai. Mr. Chairman, I wonder if the director can provide more information. Now, this is the first request for funding. So you talked about non-works related projects and works related projects. You talked about the manpower requirement and the funding needed. I want to get that sort of information. And then I want to clarify one point. If you need more money, would you have to come back every time to the FC? Director, for works-related project. No. You want to get $200 million, and now you're only getting $29 million today. Yes, we need to. Every year we ask for a certain sum of money, and after that we need to come back. Does any other member wish to ask questions? If not, I would like to put the following paper to the vote. That is PWC 2012-1359. Those who are in favor of the recommendation in PWC 2012-1359, please raise your hand. For those who are against, please raise your hand. I think the majority of members who have voted are in support of the recommendation. The paper has been endorsed. The next one is FCR 2013-14. Capital Works Reserve Fund, Head 708, Capital Subventions and Major Systems and Equipment.
Transport Department members are invited to approve a new commitment of $45.53 million to install stop-and-go e-payment facilities at the manual toll booths of government-tolled tunnels and roads. To answer members' questions, we have the following officers, and also on the 15th of March, the TH bureaus consulted the transport panel of LegCo. We have the officials who are Mr. Patrick Chan, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Housing, Ms. Gillian Lam, AS for Transport and Housing, Mr. Albert So, Assistant Commissioner for Transport, Mr. Michael Ng, Principal Transport Officer, Transport Department, Mr. Chang Xing-chun, Chief Engineer, AMSD, Mr. Chen Tam Lam, the Chairman of the Transport Panel. Can you report to us the results of the deliberation? Chairman, we generally support the funding request, but then in the course of the discussion at the panel, some members urged the administration to make sure that all interested contractors have equal opportunities to provide the facility and services when contractors are screened and selected, and also to consider the privacy protection measures proposed by the contractors. And also, members asked the administration to expedite the project and also to consider having a electronic car identification system so that we can shorten the time for payment and also reduce the workload of staff members. We can have the meeting only up to 5:15, and we still have 2 more items. Now there are 4 members already, and if we allow them each 5 minutes, there would not be a second round, but then we still not be able to do within the time limit. Let us say we have 4 minutes because I think the paper is also quite simple. Members, please try to help. Please do not use up your time. These are Ms. Elizabeth Quat, Chen Han Pan, Charles Mock, Wu Chi-wai, and also Tony Chair. Please do not continue to press buttons. We cannot allow more. Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you. In principle, I support the project and I hope it can be expedited. But the administration has to install the equipment, and I'd like to seek more information. Of course, we understand we have an Octopus and Visa card. We have different systems. In the future, there will be new systems, perhaps. Why does the administration want to install this stop-and-go e-payment facility, why don't you ask those companies to do the investment? Because if you do it now and later on, there will be new systems. Can you accommodate those? Because there will be no one system which will be compatible with all future systems. Who will take the question? Chairman, can I try to respond to this question? Yes, please. This time around, we are responding to the aspirations of the public, and also because of technological advance, the use of contactless or non-contact smart cards for payment is becoming more popular. We plan that when we select the relevant contractor, we would like to allow all interested companies with the capacity for such advances to participate so that they can allow different payment cards to be accommodated. But of course, we have to admit that I don't think the facility can accommodate or be compatible with future systems that can be developed, but we try to be as compatible as possible. Any follow-up? I'd like to know whether this funding will just give you one system. Now, how many existing systems can you accommodate in this system? In other words, it is compatible with how many systems? DS, we do not have any figure in mind. If there are interested companies coming forward, we will try to see how many will actually do. Because usually you need a card reader, and we hope to talk to the relevant suppliers and contractors so they will agree to come up with a card reader that can accommodate and be compatible with different cards. Now, if this is not enough, we are quite happy and we are prepared to do something at the manual kiosks. In other words, the installation of more than one card reader so that we can accommodate smart cards. Why don't you consider this? That is my original question, and that is you ask the interested companies to install the card readers at different positions because their system can be upgraded or can be scaled upwards. Today you can have why don't you allow him to answer, because you have asked that question twice. DS. Thank you, Chairman. It is actually very simple. If we allow companies to use their own design and to act according to their own needs, then actually we have limited space at the manual kiosk, and also there are specifications for our system. We need to do coordination work. I don't think if we allow individual contractors to do it, they can accommodate too many cards. But now you ask them to just provide one card reader. There is also this problem of coordination. And coming back to the same question, the systems can evolve in future. So how good can these card readers be, and for how long? DS, when we invite tenders, we will require them to let us know the latest technology standards that they have adopted for our consideration before we come up with the final arrangement. Mr. Chen Han-pan. Thank you, Chairman. Sometimes we see companies coming forward to install the systems themselves if they can see a profit. But this can become an unfathomable investment. Why don't you just issue the standards and ask companies to install the card readers so you do not have to make the investment? I think they have already answered the question. No, they have not answered us in detail. Second question. About the impact on fees and charges. Because the operating costs will be transferred to the toll to be charged. How much of that, have you estimated, will go towards an increase in tolls? Have you done an estimate? DS, I don't understand why you say this is an unfathomable pit. As I said, we try to have a compatible system which can accommodate as many smart cards as possible. As for the toll to be charged, we go by the user pays principle. The installation of the system and also the recurrent operating cost will be reflected in the tolls. But actually, when we adjust tunnel tolls, we will consider a basket of factors, including the impact on traffic flow, acceptability and affordability of the public, and also the economic impact. We'll do the review first, and if we decide to adjust the tolls, we have to do consultation and we have to come to LegCo to amend the relevant laws first. Chen Hanpan, Chairman, it's still the same question. Have you tried to introduce contractors who can operate the system, because there will be cash flow generated and they will have a profit? Why do you want the public to pay for the installation and possible future upgrading of the system? Are you doing the wrong thing? DS? Well, yes. Different card issuing companies have their own business arrangement and they allow for points of payment at different places. But we are talking about government tunnels and roads, and we want the facility to convenience the public. We want the system to be as accommodating as possible, so we cannot allow just one company to develop the system and have that system installed at our roads and tunnels. We have to do the coordination because we must have control. Usually, these companies also charge transaction costs. The $15 million per year recurrent expenditure is based on an estimate that 75% of the people will go for this stop-and-go e-payment method. And the service charge is 1%. Then every year we might have to pay $15 million. Then have you estimated the annual maintenance cost? Can I ask the EMSD to answer this question? Thank you, Chairman. Yes, we indeed have estimated the maintenance cost. Usually it is 10% of the estimated project cost. Mr. Charles Smock, in principle, I think this is a desirable project, but Ms. Quat and Mr. Chan have shown concern about the government's forking out of the installation cost. Now I'd like to talk about the recurrent cost of $15 million. You have told us how it came about, but the transaction cost when we use the AutoPASS or use Visa card for payment, in fact, that transacted amount would have already covered the transaction cost. Here, the administration is paying the transaction cost on behalf of car owners. So you are very generous, but this is different from the auto toll system. The car owners have to pay a monthly fee of $35 for auto toll. My understanding of the policy is that you did not introduce the stop-and-go payment because of that kind of conflict, but now you have decided to fork out the money. But then just now you talk about user pays, and this goes against the maintenance cost. I don't necessarily object to this proposal, but in fact the auto toll system is even more efficient. People can just drive through it. Now not too many people go for it because of the monthly fee. But I believe by introducing this system, there will be unfair competition, because the auto toll asks car owners to pay for the monthly cost. And later on, people might not use the auto toll because they will be able to make use of the stop-and-go e-payment, which does not require a monthly fee. Yes, they have to stop and then go, but then they can save the monthly fee of $35. So by and by, the most effective way will be disadvantaged, and you are encouraging people to use the second best method. So have you considered making it fair for both systems? Say, for example, you do something and charge the same monthly fee. Say it is $20 for crossing the harbor and etc. Then you can ask car owners to pay just one fee for using both systems. Maybe you have to change the law because the law has entrenched the charging of the monthly fee. I like to say that you go against the user pays principle. Thank you, Chairman. I like to have a reply. DS, I think I need to stress that we are not thinking of introducing competition. We emphasize that this proposal is to respond to the aspiration of the public. We are adding another payment method to encourage car owners to use tunnels and our roads. Talking about auto toll, the motorists can make their own choices. They can choose the service of different systems. But then, sorry, Chairman, this one you are subsidizing it and the other one doesn't receive any subsidy. Please, can I continue, Chairman? Car owners have made a decision, and for the company concerned, it's a commercial decision. What we do here is that in government-tolled tunnels and roads, we just provide a choice of payment at the manual kiosks. This is to respond to the request of the public. As I said, the installation cost and the recurrent cost will be recovered on the user pays principle. But as I said, when tunnel tolls are adjusted, there will be a basket of factors. Please do not repeat yourself. Yes, Chairman. Members, there are 3 more members who would like to ask questions. I have to extend the meeting by 15 minutes. This is the most I can do. But if you have more questions and more follow-up questions, we'll have to ask the officials to come back the next time.
Mr. Wu Chi-wai, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just 2 points. Now, this approach is not going to reduce or demand for manpower. Can you confirm this point? Secondly, paragraph 8 of your paper mentions that when you choose the operator, you will look at a number of things like the popularity of the smart cars, equipment costs, and transaction fees. As far as I understand, probably you have in mind the Autopass, because in terms of popularity, it is more popular. I want to know, irrespective of the operator to be chosen in the tender exercise, does it mean that Pay Visa and other contactless payment methods should also be accommodated? And technically speaking, is it an available solution in the market? DS, we are looking for interested operators, and then and we are looking for interested in companies. We won't be talking about one single company doing this, so it should be a common platform. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, manpower. Can you reduce the manpower? No, we can't. This is because we'll still be having the manual toll lane to receive cash and also the prepaid coupons. And the toll collectors have to identify the class of vehicles and determine on the amount of payment needed. I think there's a problem here. We want to further enhance the efficiency of the toll collection and the tunnel. Now, you are just cutting down on the time needed for change. For the auto toll lanes, as a result of this scheme, I'm afraid probably it will become less competitive. So have you carried out any assessment? For the same sum of money that you're asking for, why can't you do something to further promote the auto toll lanes so that we can reduce the congestion in the tunnel? DS, we have been looking at the take-up rate of the auto toll lane. About 40 to 60% of the motorists are using the auto auto-toll lanes. But still, there are some motorists who would rather opt for the manual toll booths. So we do not agree that we should roll out the auto-toll collection approach throughout the tunnels. We are here providing an additional payment method for the choice by the motorists. As Mr. Wu has said, for this toll collecting method, we're not going to cut down on the manpower needed, but then we can save the time in cash counting and change giving. It will certainly have a positive impact on the tunnel traffic. In fact, I have to queue up to use the auto toll lane rather than the manual toll booths. Any follow-up? No. Tony Chair. Some of my questions have already been asked by Mr. Wu Chi-wai. So what I want to ask, or what I want to say, is that in the future, you're going to choose an operator. Can I confirm whether that one of the requirements is as follows? They have to use a common card reader so as to accommodate different contactless smart cards. Please confirm that point. Secondly, mention has been made about the octopus, which is quite popular. Have you considered other contactless smart card operators which will be interested? Deputy Secretary. The way we understand the market, we're quite sure that other than octopus, there would be other service providers who may be interested. Can I name the companies? Should I name the companies? No need. You just confirm that there are. Any other follow-up questions? Mr. Chairman, I want to confirm that irrespective of the operator to be chosen, I want to be assured that it will be a common card reader accommodating other different contactless smart cards. What do you mean by common? Accommodating other contactless smart cards. DS. I can confirm that the system that we are going to install, it can accommodate other contactless smart cards. No other follow-up? Mr. Chen, just to express a concern. Basically, I'm in support of the scheme. As others have already said, when you go through the cross-harbor tunnel, even if you use the auto toll, it is very slow. Yes, as early as 7, I have to queue up. Now, there will be 3 different systems. It will be even more difficult to deal with the diversion of traffic. Sometimes, the cash and the contactless, the cash payment and the stop and go e-payment will be at the same booth. So 2 taps instead of 3. No, I will be worried about diversion and merging of lanes if you've got 3 different kinds of booths. No, they need a manual, they need a toll booth operator so as to confirm the class of vehicles. I have interest, so I don't want to say anything because every day I have to queue up every day. Others are trying to cut in front of me. Mr. James Toll, $40 million. This is going to be paid by the government. I think usually for a shop operator to have an octopus card reader, then I think the shop owner has to pay for it, unless we are talking about the very early introduction of the card readers. In the case of the tunnels, can there be some sort of bargaining or negotiation in the light of the volume of the transactions? Do you know how much income can be generated? For paragraph 9, Have you decided against bargaining with the operators? In other words, have you decided on paying it yourself? In fact, many card owners will benefit from this common card reader. Well, for the retail business, for each and every transaction, you need to pay a particular percentage, like a particular amount of money out of $30, say, for example, has to go to the government. Assuming that in the future, a fee has to be imposed, or unless they're saying that the fees can be waived. But probably that won't be the case. Well, they have already said that there will be a fee, but then for the time being, the government will absorb it. But in future, the toll will reflect that. So the motorists have to pay for it. So it will be $20, $30 as they are now. Say, for example, if every year we are talking about a revenue of $15 million, then we are paying for a reduction of traveling time by a few seconds and better traffic flow. Are we in a position to have a bargain? MSD and TD officials have had some initial contact with the operators. Mr. Su can also answer this question. Well, in fact, Mr. Chairman, for the $45.53 million mentioned in that paragraph, this is the budget that we have in mind for the acquisition of the system. As to whether we need to spend this full sum of money, it all depends on the result of the tendering exercise, that is the tender price. Mr. To is concerned about the recurrent expenditure of $15 million. Well, in fact, we are talking about the transaction fees to be paid every year. I think this is similar to what happens to the retail industry as well as other companies which are using the cards for payment. That is, you need to pay for the service. As the DS has already told you, well, we know how we have come up with this figure. Now, $50 million a year, and we don't know how many cards are involved. Now, it is going to be a lucrative or a very attractive sum. Now, if somebody says that I will install the card readers for you, and in return $3 million, it is a hypothetical question. Well, many different members have asked the same question. We are already paying a sum every year. How come that we still have to come up with the cost? Why should we pay them? Because they are making money out of it. I want to be sure about the principle. Have you already squeezed them for the best arrangement? Now, if we are talking about one single company, then it's easy to understand. Mr. James To, one other member would like to ask questions. Mr. Fernando Zhang, we must stop by 5:30. If you want to go beyond 5:30, we just have to stop. And then I don't know when we are having another FC meeting. Would it be next week? Anyway, it can only be continued next time. Fernando Zhang. Now we have this auto toll. We don't need any manpower. There is a sensor, a detector. And then as to the popularity, it isn't very, very popular. But then the advantage is that it is not holding up traffic. I think that's the most ideal situation. If all the motorists are using the auto toll booths, then toll collection will not cause a lot of traffic jam. It will be reduced to the minimum. So the best way to go about it is to expand the use of auto toll. Of course, for this one, stop and go, e-payment, which is like the Octopus. They haven't said that it must be Octopus. It doesn't matter anyway. It's stop and go, e-payment. Every month, you need to come up with dozens of dollars as a monthly fee. so it isn't that popular. I want to know whether a cost-benefit analysis has been carried out. Every year, you have to pay $15 million in the form of administrative fees for the same sum of money. If you are to spend it on the expansion of the auto toll arrangements, please compare the two approaches. As I have explained, auto toll is much better because you don't need to stop at all. You have already made your point. Let him answer. I don't have time. What is the cost benefit? Have you ever looked at the cost of auto toll? Can they waive the fees or can you pay for them? It's much better if the motorists are to use auto toll. James Toll, I can't give you a second time. You need to queue up again. In 2 weeks' time, we have another meeting, so can you ask your question then? No, Mr. Chairman, we haven't carried out such a study. Fernando Zhang. Then I must have grave reservation. I don't know why you haven't considered this. It is quite clear that from traffic management, from traffic flow, yes, those foolish enough like all of us here won't be paying for that. I understand your point. It doesn't matter. Do you have something else to ask? Well, in this case, it means that we have to sort out the matter. And I hope that they can do something like that. If Mr. James Toll can ask a quick question and then we can put the matter to the vote, then we don't need the officers to come back. But if you have lots of opinions, we need a longer time slot. It doesn't matter. We can continue on the 24th. I would suggest that we have a second part on the 24th. All right, you still have another minute to go. Well, if they haven't done it, then please do it. Of course, they can't do it off the cuff, but please carry out a cost-benefit exercise. Compare auto toll and a stop-and-go e-payment arrangement. If you haven't got the comparison, I don't think, to be frank, they don't have time. They can't give you the analysis in 2 weeks' time. I think it's easy. They can do the calculation easily. I must admit that there is a certain degree of difficulty. And then for the auto toll, for the use of the auto toll, as the chair has pointed out, during the peak hours, yes, you can pass the booth very quickly, but then you are still trapped in a traffic jam in the tunnel. So it may not have a positive effect on easing the traffic congestion in the tunnel. Sorry, time is up. We have to adjourn the meeting. This topic will be discussed again on the 24th of May when we have our next FC meeting. James Toll, yes, I know you are queuing up for the second round, so you will be the first to speak if no one